Hello there, and welcome to UNCUT with Gina and SUKHDEV. And this is our series 3. We're very, very thrilled to invite influencers to come and have a conversation with us, very informal. And I'm delighted to introduce my very good friend, Deborah Thorne. She is the information diva, and she has done an enormous amount of work to bring people together, to help them recognize that actually there's more that connects us than separates us. And I'd like to read you her bio. She's an award-winning, internationally known author, coach, trainer, and speaker. She's the proud host of the Leverage Conference or Leverage Conference, depending on whether you're in the UK or whether you're in the US, conference for speakers, authors, and entrepreneurs. She advises and supports motivated women to transition from employee to six-figure entrepreneur by creating income-generating businesses, not glorified hobbies. Always encouraging women to do business like a woman and not like a man. So welcome, welcome. Lovely to have you here. I'm very privileged because I've known you for a while. We do genuine dialogues on a regular basis. SUKHDEV, this is an opportunity for you to meet Deborah and for our listeners to understand what an amazing lady she is. Could you just start by sharing a bit of your story and what you're about, please?
Oh gosh, it's like, okay, where do you begin? First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity and hello to your listeners. I bring you greetings. I normally say from sunny Southern California, but today it's cloudy. Okay, so, but it's all good. All right, so I am Deborah Thorne, the information diva. And what really motivates me for real is helping women, primarily women and some enlightened men, take what they know and transcend it to something that will generate income for them. So many of us know a lot of things and that information is valuable. So it's me helping them to do that. And with regard to the leverage conferences, we call it, you call it leverage, I believe it is. We laugh. But helping them understand that we need to stop asking for opportunities and start creating opportunities. Our definition of leverage is networking plus collaboration equals opportunity. And that's leverage. The more people we know and interact with and find ways to work together, then all of us will have more opportunities. And we don't have to ask the big guys for a favor. It's ours.
So, thank you very much. One of the things that I think would be quite useful to explore, and then I'm going to hand over to SUKHDEV, is you talk about behaving like a woman and not like a man. What do you mean by that? And how does that manifest itself?
Okay, well, the business models for the most part are set up male dominated. And it wasn't some evil plot. It's just that men were in charge. They were writing down their experiences and saying, this is how we do business. In order to step into that model, women many times redefine themselves and their actions and their words and things, and they weren't comfortable. Not only were they not comfortable, they were not good at stepping into somebody else's shoes. So I encourage women to be who you are and make that work. Now, gentlemen often ask me, so what's the difference? And so here's a good difference. In my business meeting, a woman can bring her baby. I don't have a problem with that. And whoever is not writing holds the baby. And the reason for that is I know that the fact that she came to the meeting meant that it was important to her. So she's a serious businesswoman, but she's also a serious mother because she brought her child with her. And for me, those are two high value pieces, and she shouldn't have to choose. Doing business as a woman, there is no choice. And I got a chance to see it firsthand. And I was like so excited. On our local, we have a local news station that's really hyper local. Okay. And they were interviewing one of our small town mayors. And the mayor has in her office a crib for her baby, who was about 8 months old at the time. She's holding the baby during the live interview. And as babies would do, the baby dropped the rattler toy she was holding. It hit the ground. The newscaster bent down to pick it up. Well, this is live TV. So when she went to pick it up, the space on the television was absolutely blank. for several seconds. And in television, that is an absolute no-no. We never have a blank screen. She bends down, picks up the toy, gives the toy back to the child. The child is then, she was settled because she never cried or anything because people were taking care of her. And then the newscaster said, well, that's live TV. The baby had a need and we took care of it. And I went, yes, because in a man's world, first of all, the baby shouldn't have been there. And why do I have to pick up the toy? And we just do it differently. And for me, that's the best example.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? And I think if you look at the research that shows how women are so often held back, and I think there's two issues. One is the fact that they very often lose years and promotion because of childbearing, but the other is the glass ceiling that they create for themselves. And I think often that's the harder one to break, that they have perceptions about women's role and what other people will accept and how things should be. But I'm going to hand
They
over.
go after each other too. That's the big deal. There is in that attempting to be this man kind of, leader. They go after women who have children and childcare issues and things. And, I really aim to put a stop to that. We can support one another. Look at us. We support each other across the pond. So it's wonderful.
Brilliant. SUKHDEV, I'm going to hand over to you. What would you like to ask Deborah?
I was just hearing in on the way the baby is allowed to be at the meetings and things like that. I think that's a model that should be around everywhere. If somebody is dedicated, like people shouldn't have to make a choice between their career and family. If you can combine the two and still make it work, I think that's awesome. And that's one thing that I really picked up, and I think a lot of other businesses out there should be using the same sort of thing if it's possible.
Yeah,
I think inevitably there are some roles where that would be impossible, and you have to accept that there are times when, if you're flying a plane, then
you don't want the baby in your lap.
Yeah. Now firefighters not going to take their kid to the
no.
No.
And so I think one of the things that strikes me is that society tends to create blanket rules rather than looking at the very specific situation and thinking, what would work here? And looking for solutions rather than saying, no, you can't do that. Why can't you do that? Because we don't do that here. And I think whether you're a man or a woman, whether you've got a baby or not, that being open to possibilities of things being done differently is going to be particularly important as we move forward out of the situation that we are in currently. And as we record this, we're coming to this point in the pandemic where people are having vaccinations and so on. We're looking forward now to a time which will be very different. But I think this principle holds at any time, that rather than you immediately close things down and say, no, we can't, rather than looking at, is it appropriate? Is it appropriate if we make some adaptation? Or if it's not appropriate, even with adaptations, then how can we support things moving forward in a way that validates people rather than just says, no, you're of no account, we can't, it's not possible. And I think if we had that sort of culture in every industry, then things would be very much better. Things would be very different, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. I can remember, I always tell people I've never worked in a corporation a day in my life. However, I did work for the state government, so I understand bureaucracies. And one of the things that I kept bumping up against was, we've never done it like that before. And I would say, okay, so let's try it. No, we can't do it because we've never done it like that before. And that's just a mindset of people who haven't learned to think outside the box. Because there's some of us that say, is there a box? I didn't see a box. So I'm already outside of it. And I think that that's part of what happens with leadership. That's part of what happens with our creativity and our ideas. Just think, 5 years ago, we couldn't have had a conversation like this because the technology didn't exist and people didn't do this. Only people who could have any kind of show were actually radio shows with the letters and the polls and all that. So things are changing, and you made reference to the time that we're in and how things are going to change. They will never go back to the same way.
No,
I
they can't. The genie's out of the box.
and you can't put it back in. And I keep trying to tell people that well, when we get back to meeting face to face, do you know how many face to face meetings we are not going to have? Okay. Because why would you pay for an employee? Let's say you're this big corporation. Why would you pay for an employee to fly across the country or internationally to attend a meeting? And I've got to pay airfare, hotel, when I can say, no, 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 get your laptop and plug in, and we're there. So no, it will never go back to that because it doesn't even make good business sense to do it the old way.
What I would like to say is I think there will always be the place for physical face-to-face meetings, but I think we'll be much more discerning about when those are necessary and how to use that time. And so that time becomes, if you like, we put a value in terms of our time, in terms of whatever we do, but that you will create that time because it has a real value. And so that time won't be spent just faffing about. It will be spent really focused on creating a new relationship, for example. So, I can see that there are going to be times when the travel is worth it, but for the vast majority, that things are going to move on. Now, SUKHDEV, you've got an organisation. Explain to Deborah your organisation and how it works, because one of her big things is collaboration. And I know that's true for us, for all of us, really. But I think it would be helpful for our listeners and for Deborah to have an understanding of how that works.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Creative Discovery Group. And Creative Discovery Group is a platform for exceptional coaches and consultants around the world. And currently we're across 12 countries. We have close to 40 coaches. And more than coaching, we look at the global issues that are out there. So for example, we've been providing solar panels and batteries to Yemen during the war, so they have power and electricity. Also, we were chosen to coach for Ghana, Africa, for the students and teachers there. So collaboration is huge. And what sort of collaboration, and I guess what have you been doing so far? And is there anything I can sort of help with, or?
Okay. Well, mainly I work with collaborating with other solopreneurs. That tends to be our market. People who aren't, I don't want to say given an opportunity, but they don't understand how to get the opportunity. And I'm saying to them, stop worrying about that. If 2 or 3 of us get together here, we can create something and build on that. So I'm like real big about book collaborations, getting people out with a book collaboration. I was able to produce 13 first-time authors, okay? People who wanted to be wanted a book, wanted to be in a book, but didn't think they had the wherewithal to do it on their own. Okay, so learning a collaboration, and my goal for each one of them is do the collaboration piece a couple of times, and now it's time to write your book, okay? So those are the kinds of things I'd love to really hear at some point what you're doing internationally and how can I be supportive of that? Because for me, collaborating is as simple as you saying, hey, we're doing whatever. And I go, oh, okay, I can't go there. I can't do that. But here's what I can do. And so constantly looking for ways to plug in so that we accomplish so much more. You're on the global piece. We do a little global because when we did our conference, we had folks from the UK, folks from Canada, folks from the Philippines. Okay, so we're getting there. But I think, again, when we talk about how the world is going to operate going forward, the opportunities to collaborate are just going to grow, just going to grow.
I agree.
It's so interesting. Sorry, you go ahead, SUKHDEV.
Oh, just to catch up quickly, finish up on what you were mentioning about creating 13 first-time authors. 2021, this year, it started last year, but 2021 we announced it that we partnered with Mary Buffett, and we're doing like it's called In the Spotlight with Mary Buffett for new authors. So if there's new authors who want to be seen and gain some credibility, some marketing material, and so much more, we do quite a bit more than that. But we can connect after the show and maybe.
Sounds good. Okay.
One of the things that strikes me is, if you think about all of the people who are doing great stuff, we're three, it strikes me that we're a bit like fireflies in the dark. And there's a tiny pinprick of light that emanates out from each of us and from the many others, that they are currently lots of little pinpricks of light that are disconnected. But you bring three together and you have a much bigger light. You bring 30 together and the light grows. And it just seems to me that, the people who are listening to this, you can make a difference. And part of that is how you hook up with people and create an opportunity through that talking. Both of you are people I met through LinkedIn. Out of the connection with SUKHDEV, this is our third series. The first was live coaching. The second was with people who were experts. The third is with influencers, and you're the first within our series of influencers.
Okay.
But it's grown out of a conversation that started with a message on LinkedIn, would you like to connect? Our connection and our genuine chats and our for both of you, the genuine friendship came out of a LinkedIn message that's then went on to a call, which then we had lots of things in common, and much, for those of you listening, a lot of things where we laughed because they say that the UK and the US are two lands separated by the same language. And we found that to be absolutely true. That so many things that we talk about, you talk about chips. The chips, those are a very different thing in the UK. You talk about an elevator, we talk about a lift, and so on. And, it's interesting that the more you talk to people, the more you realize that we actually have so much that connects us. And because we live in a world that's full of strife and conflict and hate and separation, it seems to me so important that not only do we connect with like-minded people, but out of that comes things that are bigger.
Absolutely. And I think for me, that is what leverage is all about. Nobody knows everybody or everything, but together we become so much more powerful and our reach is so much broader. And even just hearing someone else, hearing their experience, there's something you can learn from. Because, for instance, I'm thinking, oh, wait, maybe we need to be doing more things globally. Maybe I need to reach out more. I mean, those are the sparks that happen. And I think those are the things that are going to make our world a better place, because I hope at the end of the day, we all like to be business people and generate money. But at the end of the day, will the world be better because you walk this planet? And how are you going to point to it and say, okay, these are the things I attempted to do. Some of them I got done, some I didn't, but it made a difference because in each one of us, no matter where we are, can make a difference. I listen to people who say, oh, if I had $1 million, I'd donate. Okay, you don't have $1 million, you got $2, donate the $2 because it can be used. And so, yeah, wherever we are.
I think that's really powerful. And I hope people that are listening will take that on board. It's so easy for people to think, well, there's only me and I'm little and I can't do anything. And I think, if that's your mindset, then no, of course you can't do anything. However, you can smile, you can do random acts of kindness that don't cost anything. You can reach out to someone and say, can I help you? Or I've got this, would you like to share? That costs nothing.
Exactly.
Everything starts small. As long as you start, just start. If it's 1 minute a day, it's still something.
Yes.
And anybody has 1 minute a day to do something for themselves. If you don't have that for yourself, you're ripping yourself off. And then complain about your own future because you're putting yourself there. You have 1 minute. Everybody has 1 minute. Unless, if you're breathing and alive and doing well, you got 1 minute.
Absolutely. Deborah, share with us, you do periodically challenges. So would you share with us your challenges and also your conference? I know that's not till the end of the year, but it's not too early to start talking about
Oh,
them.
absolutely. Okay, so challenges. One of the challenges that I'm working on now is called If Cash is King. Cash may be king, but content is queen. Okay. So, what I'm encouraging people to do, again, my business is about simplifying business principles and systems. So there is no excuse for not doing it. It's just that people don't understand how simple it can be. So whenever we put together a sales funnel or whatever, they always tell you, well, you have to have some content, great big word content. You have to have a freebie, great big word freebie. And people don't understand how simple it is. So for 5 days, I'm encouraging people to join with me. Let's go on a journey of creating content. We're actually going to create one piece of content and repurpose it 4 more times because I need people to see that with as simple as your laptop or your phone, you should be creating content and you can. So, is it a video? Do it on your phone and YouTube. It doesn't cost you a dime. Is it you want to do a show? You do it on Zoom. Doesn't cost you. You know what I'm saying? We have resources that people don't think. And one of my big things that I enjoy doing is taking what looks like the normal thing and repurposing it in a way that you go, oh my goodness, I never thought about that. So, for instance, I belong to a client appreciation organization where we send out cards. And I said to the group the other day in our leadership call, do you realize that a card is just a 4 panel billboard? You can put anything on a card, okay? So how about she likes the cups? That's the swag from the conference. But that's an example. I can tell you, with these things, you can create anything. You just have to think about it differently. Okay. Don't think of it as a card. Think of it as I have 4 blank panels. What do I want people to know? And I can do it cost effectively. I have a postcard. What do I want people to know? Now, that really is a billboard because everybody passing it along gets to see it. But my point to people is let's again demystify this thing called content, help people create it because we're still, you guys and we're on Zoom and it's no big deal. We're on Zoom I know I'm on Zoom all day long, both being the leader and being on the other side. There are still people who have no idea how to do a Zoom, no idea how to do a Facebook Live. And I'm saying, come on, for real? Let me show you, put the fear aside and let's go forward. And so that's what the challenge is about. The challenge is about anybody can create content because I'm going to ask you to come up with 5 questions. What do people always ask you? What should they ask you? What do you wish they would ask you? If you fill that out, now we can do an ebook from it. We can do a class from it. Each one of those could be their own. And I want to show that to people. Let's break it down so that the average person who thinks I can't do that, the same person who thinks I can't make a donation because I can't make $1 million donation, helping them understand that it's a dollar will make a difference. Or as you said, a minute. Do you have a minute? When people say, oh, I would publish my book, but I don't have any money. And I always go, do you have $2.50? Well, yeah, I got $2. Well, that's all it costs to publish your book. I can get you a
Actually, on
copy of your book.
KDP, you can do it for free.
Well, they can have an actual book in their hand for $2. It's
Yeah.
$2.15 plus tax and postage.
Yeah.
So I say $2.50. Do you have that? Well, yeah, then you have no excuse for not publishing your book. So let me show you how to do that. So then all that brings me to my conference, which I get really excited about. In November, we will be hosting the 3rd annual The Leverage Conference for speakers, authors, and entrepreneurs. And the conference is a 2.5 day event that is designed for speakers, authors, and entrepreneurs. We have one day where authors are invited to come in and talk about their books. And that's all the afternoon is about. I have a book. This is what my book is about, so that you get a chance to be exposed. Then we have a day that we are calling our Opportunity Day, which is where speakers of there, some of them are aspiring, some a little bit more established, get a chance to share their topic, and everything has to be applicable to leveraging a speaker, author, or entrepreneur. And we even help people tie their topics into that. And then finally, the last day of the conference is our Day of Masters. And our master speakers this year were absolutely phenomenal. And we're already looking to who will ask to speak as masters. And when you sit with the masters, you actually, for real, excuse me, walk away with actionable items, because we want people, it is a premium conference. It's not your, it's not a low cost conference, but the reason being that the information that you have at the end of the day, the connections that you have. And I really pride myself that nobody is there selling to you. Nobody sells from the stage ever. And that takes some getting used to for the people, but it's like, no, no, no. If you deliver a quality talk, then people are going to want to get to know you. And we have plenty of ways for them to contact you, and you go back after that. But it makes for a very wonderful experience. When I know we're successful is when I hear people say, based on what I heard that first day, I'm writing my book now. Yes. Okay. Or I want to get to a place where I can speak and be confident enough to speak on the stage. Absolutely. Let us work with you, get you there. And then, like I said, I depend on my masters to bring it on home. And we also had this wonderful roundtable that Gina helped me do, where thought leaders we talked about some real tough subjects. We talked about race and religion, two things you're never supposed to talk about. And we talked about it because my personal belief is that until we learn to speak boldly, confidently, and compassionately about these topics, they will never get any better. If I can share with you my experience, and this is why I feel the way I do, you have a better chance of understanding, not necessarily changing your mind, but understanding where I'm coming from so that we are not in conflict. You can honestly say, oh, wow, if I had that experience, maybe I would feel the same way. So that's our doing good. So we're really working to have some peace in this world, but by giving authors and speakers and entrepreneurs a platform. So that's it.
And I can attest to the fact that the conference last year was pretty powerful and great fun too. What strikes me is, for those people who are listening, for the people who are coaches within creative discovery, that each of them have an expertise to share, and creating a book, creating some sort of publication or product is a way that you can share with many people, and the energy to create it is done, but it can still, it's the gift that keeps giving, isn't it? Because once it's done and it's out there, you can get on with the next thing, and you'll have moved on, and you will have new things to share. And it just seems to me that, for people, not just coaches, but for people who have expertise and experience to share, it's a really important way forward, and one that I think Deborah offers a huge amount of great support to help people reach there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
When you were saying that, and we go on, I belong to an organization where we do what we call Sue Talks. It's our girl version, if you will, of TED Talks. And it's a 12-minute speech that has to be memorized and delivered in a certain format. And I'm now one of the Sue Talk coaches, so I help people to do that. But I gave this 12-minute speech. It was recorded. It was up on YouTube. And I talked to people, leverage everything you have. My little 12-minute speech has been viewed over 4,000 times.
brilliant.
Okay. And it just keeps going. Yes. Okay. And so I told the organization, I said, I've been wanting to teach people how to leverage it. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they kind of talked about it and hushed me off until I said, my speech has been viewed 4,000 times. When they added up all the other speakers over the years, all of them together, don't equal my 4,000. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you. There's one other lady, I take it back. There's one other lady that's close. But why aren't we? And that's what I want to show people. We have an opportunity to be out there like never ever before. If we will just think a little bit outside the box and look at how this, everybody should have their own television show. You know what your television show is? You on a Zoom channel. It's you on YouTube. You got your own television show. And so that's what I really want to encourage people as your listeners are sitting there thinking about what it is they do and how do they transform it. Look at what you would wish you were doing and how do you make it happen based on the things that are available to us now. That's my favorite piece.
Brilliant. And I think so much to offer. SUKHDEV, your thoughts about how we as a three, bearing in mind that we've all got a really strong sense of purpose. Do you want to explain, you're going to be part of a much bigger group very soon, aren't you? That actually are doing significant things in the world. Tell people about that and how that operates.
So I've just, I've gone through an onboarding process, and I'm together with a group of professionals. We're raising $100 million for global philanthropy. So, you know, we're going to be giving it away to charities and third world countries, and we're really just making the world a better place. That's what our goal is at Creative Discovery Group. So that's the direction, like that's a vision where we're going, and we want to sorry, fumbling around. We're gonna have to cut some of that out. But my mission, after I met with like just last week with a billionaire, was to help 1 million people around the world. So after meeting with this professional leader, I upped that from 1 million to 1 billion, because just by surrounding yourself and getting yourself in rooms with people who think, like we're talking about, thinking outside the box, and you can pick up some of that knowledge and some of that skill set and start applying it to your life. So that's sort of how it all came about. And again, networking and collaborating, and you never know what can happen.
I think there's a really important lesson that I think I'd like to tease out of that.
Okay, so thinking about not making it about money, making it about people. Is that?
Well, that's one of the lessons, but actually the lesson
Okay.
that I think that really struck me is how we tend to think small until we are exposed to somebody who says, well, why not 1 billion?
Yeah.
And
yes.
The interesting thing, I think, is that whatever we aim for, the chances are you're never going to quite get them. When I was at primary school, which would be elementary in the US, would that be elementary in Canada as well?
Yeah.
We were divided into houses, and I was in Barder House. I don't know if you know the story of Douglas Barder, but he was a pilot in the Second World War who lost both his legs. But he, as soon as he was fitted with artificial legs, he was back in the sky. And he was very much venerated war veteran. But the motto of the team that I was in was "Reach for the stars." And it's always struck me that we often, you know, if you just reach for the top of the molehill, you might get there. But wherever you aim for, you have to aim high. You don't have to try and get there in one lump. It's step by step. And Deborah's a perfect example of breaking that down into small steps so that people can achieve it. But, you know, if you put those two things together, that, you know, the step by step you can achieve anything. And actually, if you dream big and then you take the steps to get there, then anything's possible.
Absolutely.
And you look at it and then add into that, you know, don't aim for the money, but think about what you can do for people. You know, your purpose is not raising money, your purpose is helping people. The vibration to that is very different. And I think the opportunity to succeed becomes something that's very different. And for me, that's a perfect example of leverage, collaboration opportunity where you put three people together, and that shared understanding, that shared expertise, that shared insight moves everybody forward. We're getting towards the end of our interview. And so one of the things that I would be really grateful for is for you to share, how do people get hold of you, Deborah? You know, they've heard what you offer, and they would, you know, they're an entrepreneur, or there's somebody who wants to write a book, or they just want to succeed, and they want to have someone who's going to support them in a really holistic way. Where do they go?
The easiest way to reach me is to text Diva, the word Diva, to 21,000. So I've learned to explain that to people. Open your phone up as if you were sending a text message. Where the telephone number goes, put the numbers 21,000 21000, and then the message is Diva. And what happens is it will shoot you back my digital business card, which has all my contact information by a button, email, my social media, and that 12-minute speech I told you about, it's there as well.
Do you know what? After this show, you and I are going to have a conversation, because I love it.
Well, and you see, I keep it over my shoulder at all times. And just so people know how things work, many times, you know, now we're networking in Zoom. And so all these little squares are there and everybody's there. That's over my shoulder. And I can be sitting here and I'll get noticed that somebody text. Okay. I don't even have to say anything. Also, if you look at the bottom of my name identifier, says the same thing, because I want people to have an easy way to get to me and yet give them enough information. And the great thing is I'm notified that they did. And so I'm able to reach back out to them and say, hey, thanks for stopping by. How can I be of service?
Sounds brilliant.
Okay.
So, Deb, do you have any final questions or any final comments?
Yeah, just if you could share quickly, what made you get from to the point you are now, and maybe 3 top tips you would have for somebody who is listening to help them along their journey.
Okay, so what made me get here is I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay. I have later discovered I really did make a good employee, because mediocrity is not something I ascribe to. You know, I like excellence and perfection. And also, like I said, I don't think inside the box. That's just not who I wasn't built like that. It's because I'm still asking, is there a box? What box? I didn't see a box. I climbed over, I didn't see. So that's it. The thing that I would say to people, I'll do it like I do with a coaching client. Take a moment and think, if money and resources were not an issue, what would your life look like? If you could write the script of your life, what would it look like? And then what would that mean to you? Then the next thing is, okay, you've imagined what it is. Now clarify the steps. Okay, because I teach an ICE program. Imagine, clarify, execute. So imagine as big as you're willing to work for, and I'm there to be your cheerleader on it. Then clarify the steps that it would take to make that happen. Break it down. If we're reaching for the stars, and I'm all for that, okay, but we have to build a foundation to put the rocket on. Okay, so do we have the foundation? So let's work on the foundation. We know we're going to the stars, but we're going to start here. And then do it step by step. Some people can do it faster, slower. You do it at your pace, because you're only comparing to you, not to anyone else. I have a partner who is, and I'm teasing him because his business is gonna crunch the $1 million mark this year. I'm so proud of him. And I said, and your overnight success, and we laugh about it because that's what it appears. I know he's been peddling for years trying to get there, and things worked and didn't work, and he'd start over and all that. But you know what? It's coming together. It's all those points are coming together. And he is going to be that overnight success, because that's what people are going to say. They're going to see that, oh, he opened these franchises and they're everywhere. Yeah. I remember when he had one office. Okay. So, you know, just do you. That is my biggest thing. Do you, be confident in who you are, and just take it at whatever pace you need to take it.
Awesome.
Thank you. So text Diva to 21,000 if you would like to speak to Deborah Thorne, the Information Diva. And I would hope to see you at the Leverage conference in November. If you're interested in writing a book and you want some help, then she's the lady to talk to.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us in this third series of Uncut with Gina and SUKHDEV. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. We've got a great guest for you. Take care and speak to you soon. Bye-bye now.